When is Conroy going to go and just completely change lanes and go after guys now? Now he's adding to this team. We've got so much confidence in the group. We're going to bring. We got to score. We need one more scorer, and we are home ice through the playoffs.
I don't think he's thinking that way at all. But he is.
What?
He is trying to add.
Oh.
He is. Look, the right shot center is no surprise. I think I talked about that week 2 of the season. They're looking, but they want to find someone that fits their age scheme and is part of this next iteration, somewhere in between 22 and 25 years old that can be here for a long time. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking for more scoring punch. I can tell you they're actively engaging in conversation to try and find these guys. And whether or not that materializes, like, they've got the assets, the picks and prospects to be able to make something happen should something like that surface. The problem is those are exactly the type of guys that most teams are trying to keep.
Yeah. So, and that's why I want to bring a name up here. I mean, what's going on with Trevor Zegras? Where's the market at? Will Pat Verbeek make a trade that he doesn't like, or will he just sit on an asset until it turns to dust like he's kind of done with John Gibson here? Like, what's happening with the Ducks? Where are they at with Zegras?
The Ducks are a mess, and I don't know what's happening there. I tend to think that the way that Trevor Zegras' stock has plummeted around the league, I mean, watch his play, watch his body language, look at his production. It's been a grind, and not just for him. It's been a grind for a lot of their young guys that have been in similar spots. So when will that alarm bell go off? When will changes be made? I think before anything, you'd probably have to start with the coach, because, you know, I've been on record for 6 weeks, even going back to late last season, talking about how difficult the environment has been with Greg Cronin there on these players. Look, I think that's the easiest place to start. Make a coaching change, see if you can get everyone to rebound instead of trading guys where their stock is at the absolute lowest that it's been. You're better off hanging on to the asset, because history would show that, you know, it should and could or will get better. But look at how this has worked with John Gibson. This is going back 2 regimes now. Yep. Bob Murray, you know, there was some talk, hey, John Gibson could be moving on. Then they said, well, we want significant value. We're not eating any part of his contract, and we want big pieces in return. Then this continues to drag on and on. Now suddenly Lucas Dostal has grabbed the net. It's been 3-4 years now since this last popped up in conversation. And yet here he is at a point where not only will the Ducks have to eat salary in order to make something happen, but they're also unlikely to get much, because his play has devolved to the point where the question is, and we just had Carter Hutton on our Daily Faceoff Live a half hour ago, is John Gibson a starter in today's NHL? His answer is no.
Yeah, I don't think so. 5 years has been brutal. He was a very good player before that. He'd been your Team USA starter 5 years ago. Not anymore. He's not on that team.
Going back to exactly what we just talked about with the Flames, John Gibson has shown that he does not want to be there anymore.
Right.
I don't care what you need to do to move on from John Gibson. Again, I don't care if we're not getting anything and we're paying something. We've got a ton of picks and prospects. What's one more pick? Move on.
You mentioned the body language on Zegras. There was a goal, and I saw it on social media. I meant to grab it, not that we were going to necessarily talk to him, but I just wanted to keep it. He scores a goal, and I don't know if it was necessarily that pretty or not, but he just kind of goes to the corner and stops, and a couple of guys come in. There is no elation.
There's no joy.
There's no joy. It was just kind of maybe it was kind of like maybe that gets.
Well, he's got 2,
right? It's
boy.
This is a guy who was a mid-60s point player as a
like
19 and 20-year-old. And then not only that, the creativity everywhere.
Well, you got to have some passion for the game a little bit. And if it's gone,
well, when it gets sucked out of you from your GM, who demands that you go to Florida to train in the off season, and to the point where the team gets fined $50,000 for it. Did you hear about that?
No,
just
It was a couple years ago. Maybe 18 months ago, they were fined $50,000 by the league. They forced their young players to go to Florida for a set number of, not days, weeks, to train under the Pat Verbeek approved person in Florida.
So
then your coach, your GM hires a coach who basically has made it his point to berate every individual on that team. Where do you find the joy? Where does that come from? It's starting at the very top and it's filtering its way through every facet of your operation.
And that's just it. Once I don't know the GM well enough to give an opinion, but if the fun's out of it, it doesn't matter if you're in sunny California making millions of dollars and your coach is making life miserable at the rink, you're not going to perform. Do I love how Trevor Zegras plays the game of hockey? I've not watched him enough. I like the talent, but the rumors have always been, well, he's very talented, but he doesn't play hockey to help the team win. He's just, but when you put a guy like,
tell me, let me.
I know I'm going to answer you. I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to say that's what I'm getting to. In the right circumstance, that creativity is supported and
encouraged,
embraced. And the group understands that that's what he brings.
Yeah.
That's what he brings to the, I tell it all the time. David Strush, a good friend of mine, and I hate to take a shot at him. He was coaching Bedard in Regina. And I called him. I said, Strushy, what's this kid like? Like, is it worth the hype? He's like, he's unbelievable. Unbelievable retro. But I got to get him to play both ends of the ice.
Like, yeah, but the one end he's otherworldly. Maybe just leave him
like
that end.
You know, it just is a little story, but Zegras to me would do the same thing. It's like, you're not putting him out there down up a goal with a minute left. It's not his spot.
When are we going to harness what these guys do really well, as opposed to worrying about what they don't do well? If they don't do that well, get someone else on your team that can do that for them.
Yes.
Why is Matvei Michkov, and maybe a bad example, but your team is in like 23rd place in the league. And he's the guy that, first off, people are paying to see, and he's got jam and he's super creative, a really good player. Why is he sitting out for 2 games as a healthy scratch? Because you don't like the way that he plays defensively at even strength.
What is your message to send, and why can't you send it without sitting at that guy? Yeah. Like, your team's not good enough that you can go, I'm going to bring you out because we're winning games. I'm going to send a message so you can watch how we need you to play. You bring it up, and I've not spent time breaking down Anaheim, but if what you're saying is right, and the coach is a dick and the GM's trying to be a hard ass, too much.
Their team slogan should just be, we're not happy until you're unhappy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the way it's been.
We need
to stop when morale improves.
We need Boomer is what
lunch today has been canceled due to a lack of hustle.
And here's the thing. There's a lot of shine coming off the Stevie Y era in Detroit. His legacy as a GM. You see Julien Brisebois doing great work after he leaves in Tampa. Verbeek was an understudy. He is an absolute Yzerman disciple. Like, where are we at on these two? Because it sounds like they're not really interested in other people's opinions, and they make life miserable for people underneath them.
You could buy into your persona too much, I think, and feel like
where you just start believing all your own bullshit.
Exactly. I'm a hard ass. That's what I'm regarded as. You know what? Again, hate Daryl Sutter would play up to the "I'm an asshole" mantra to the point of failure for, you know what I mean? Like, and you can overplay that hand. Guys don't want to go to the rink and not have fun.
Yeah.
It just don't. And you can't change that. And
look at the power of it. Look at the power of, like, not for nothing, but to bring this conversation full circle. Does anyone think that the Flames are in the top 16 in terms of talent and depth?
No.
Not one person, even like objectively their own front office, would tell you the same. Yet when you look at the enjoyment factor that team has and the way that they've bounced back, you can't tell me that it doesn't mean something and that they're not going to outkick their coverage based on the way that they enjoy coming to the rink. Versus if you actually put it on paper, you could make the argument that Anaheim has more pieces, and definitely more young pieces up front, that are way more intriguing.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even put those two teams in the same conversation with where they're at right now this season.
You just wonder, being preemptively sour and miserable for fear that the players are going to take a free ride, as opposed to maybe be fair and have some good time. And then then reel them in, then give them shit if they deserve it or if they need it, but keep the mood relatively pleasant if possible. It just doesn't seem like it's that crazy.
And that doesn't let players off the hook for coasting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can walk and chew gum and probably dribble a basketball. Like, you can do more than one thing at a time.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.